Hey everybody, this is Mike Young, 55 years young. Let's get right into a video here with the legendary Dr. Colin Campbell. I've done a few interviews with him myself on this channel. He's talking about, even though he doesn't mention the word epigenetics, so let's get into epigenetics and how it impacts the health of the average person.
So if you can reduce your risk by 90%, that means, occasionally some people, even doing the right thing, are going to, get the bad result. I mean, that happens. That's the way it is. It's not black and white. But the evidence is so overwhelming. If I can reduce my risks by 90%, that's pretty good.
Okay, talking about reducing risk by 90%. You hear all the time, well, there's a breast cancer gene in my family, or this is genetic, I can't do anything about it. What Dr. Campbell is going to talk about here is that there's something more important than your genes. It's the expression of your genes, the way they express. Because just because you have something doesn't mean you're going to get a negative expression like breast cancer. It does mean that you need to be more sensitive. You are more sensitive. You need to be more careful about what you do. And when you are more careful about what you do, which is mostly the food, and of course all the other lifestyle medicine pillars, but the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food is the way you want to structure your life. It will set you up in alignment with nature so that your genes express properly regardless of which type of gene that you have.
For all the disease at the same time. So that is the formula basically for a whole food based diet.
With the implication of the fact that 10% of the people still get the disease, even though they're eating this wonderful diet.
Okay, he's talking about whole food plant-based. Again, I did a most recent video you could check back on the channel where I analyzed Dr. Campbell talking about the history of the whole food plant-based diet, and I basically said that he did great work historically. With utmost respect, I say this, and unfortunately, right now, I think that's causing confusion for people because it's not specific enough. When he says whole food plant-based diet here, let's talk about the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food instead, because I would agree with what he says based on someone eating a diet with the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food only.
Would the implication be that it's genetic, the one of the diseases they get?
Partly that may be true. Angelina Jolie, I think we talked about that before. Certain genes occasionally pop up to give higher risk for certain kind of diseases, and those people are more sensitive to doing the wrong thing, so they're going to have a higher risk for getting those diseases. But at the same time, they also can reduce the risk to next to nothing. But they have to be really strict to it. They have to work at it.
Okay, so he's saying that somebody who has a genetic disposition to a certain condition or disease or cancer or whatever it might be, he's saying what I said earlier, which is they're just a hypersensitive person like me. I know because I am one. I don't have any specific genes that I know of that I got to look out for, but I just know how living the wrong lifestyle and the wrong food quickly and negatively affects me. And that's what people need to understand is that it's if they have a certain genetic disposition, that is the red flag that goes up, the alert that says, okay, you need to be more closely aligned with nature than the average person. And how do you do that? Of course, the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food, 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. You can learn more about the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food at healthyveganfood.info.
You have to stay there. Don't stray. So the genes do play some role. That's inarguable. We can have some family traits and certain things, but it's so minor, and there's such a.
You hear that? So minor. That's very comforting to hear, and that goes against a lot of what you hear on the street. It's so minor that the genes. I mean, and I even asked a question to an LLM about like ChatGPT or Grok, and I said, if someone follows our framework of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food, 100%. Can we reduce or eliminate all the non-communicable diseases, which are 90% of the ridiculously high medical costs in the U.S.? And the answer is yes. It's because of what Dr. Campbell's talking about here, which is epigenetics.
It's an exception compared to the average population. And so I can't say that. And in our study, the one thing that really got me going in this whole thing early in my career was in our animal studies, quite frankly, when we they start out with a gene predisposition, a genetic predisposition for
Right.
getting cancer, all of them. But we can turn it off completely by nutritional means. I mean, that was pretty dramatic.
So that's what he's saying. The work he did in the China study, where he showed he could turn cancer on and off by adjusting the level and percentage of animal protein in a person's diet. Obviously, the lower the percentage of animal protein, the genes were turned off for cancer. The higher the percentage of animal protein, the genes were turned on. So he's again speaking about epigenetics and saying that there is absolute biochemical science behind this, and this is how it works.
And so, nutrition is controlling gene expression.
Interesting. You hear that? Nutrition is controlling gene expression. Nutrition is controlling gene expression. Don't forget that.
Expression is genetic determinism. Okay? And actually the industry, the cancer industry who's making chemotherapy, stuff like that, they rely on this concept of genetic determinism.
Okay, so that's what he says. Word on the street is genetic determinism. But the reality is that nutrition controls gene expression. So this whole genetic determinism sounds like a lie, sounds like something that was fabricated to make more money for everybody. And it also makes it easy if you're a closed-minded person, because then all you got to do is say, hey, there's nothing I can do about this. Not really, because genetic determinism, and you may have better genes than me, so don't talk. You haven't walked in my shoes. But all of that is a lie. All of it's wrong.
They don't say it out loud very much, but they sure do say it. Let me tell you. The National Cancer Institute had that in the first line. Cancer is a genetic disease. I called attention to that. They took it down. I don't know why they did that, because I had done that.
I wonder what year that was in that he did that.
Not because I am fairly visible in that community. But in any case, genetic determinants have been vastly overrated, because it's what if you go around telling people, hey, we're all going to get disease one kind or another, if they say something like this, what are you worried about? If you got the genes,
that's what I hear. Hey, everything causes cancer, so don't bother. That's what I hear.
You're going to get the disease. That's silly. But they've argued, the industry will argue that these diseases are genetically determined when it's not.
The industry will argue. The industry is the one that has the lobbyists that influence the lawmakers, that report to the shareholders, that make all the money. And if you can change the expression of your disease nutritionally, like Dr. Campbell says, then that means you don't probably need any of that, or hardly any of that. So this is why you don't hear it.
They go to the other extreme and say, don't worry about it. If you're going to get a disease, you're going to get it.
Hey, yeah, it's outside of my control. Hey, you don't understand. This is not something I could do anything about. That's what he's saying. It sounds like, hey, that's a lot easier way to live, I guess. Unfortunately, it's wrong.
And those are very few and far between.
Thank you. So, there's an idea, and you can correct me if this isn't accurate, like with people who smoke cigarettes, for example, if they quit smoking cigarettes, within 7 years, they'll have the same health outcomes of somebody who's never smoked. I don't know the veracity of that, but conceptually, is there, people oftentimes think they're broken after being unhealthy for a long period of time. With a whole food plant.
Okay. First of all, remember, don't go whole food plant-based. No WFPB. It's HVF, healthy vegan food, 6 pillars. That's what you want. It's more specific. It's up to date. It is compliant and correct and in alignment with all of the evidence. And yeah, the human body is regenerative. As long as you don't wait too long, and we don't know where that line is, so don't cross it. Don't even try to get there. Just keep working with your body. When you start to see the non-communicable disease decline, that's the warning sign you're doing stuff wrong. You'll know you're on the right path, and you will continue to regenerate. And that's the way it works. That's the way life works, and it's great.
Plant-based diet, how long does it usually take for someone to have that vibrant health? And will they have the same health outcomes as somebody who didn't do all that kind of damage themselves throughout their life after a while?
That's a great question. That's a very germane question. I had to face it myself. My wife did too. I mean, as I said, I was in my early 50s and eating all the wrong food. So changing at that time for me was a bit of a challenge, but I was being convinced of our data.
He also had an open mind. An open mind is the only thing that's required.
And my dad had died at 70. He was otherwise a farmer and good and fit, and his brother at 58 of heart disease. And their father, my grandfather, was 73. So it was in my family.
It's in everybody's family. It's all the bad habits. No one was taught the right information. That's why we have the work to do that we do. And by the way, when I was 30, and that was 25 years ago, I had high cholesterol, and that's all been reversed as well. And yeah, the sooner the better, because you don't know when the permanent damage sets in. And the body will quit if you stop listening to it. If you don't listen to the diseases, which are the pleas for you to change your habits, the body will quit at some point.
Wife's family, her mother passed at 51 from colon cancer. And then she lost two brothers in their 50s. So we had family issues to think about. So that encouraged us to take more seriously what we were doing.
That's good.
And but I was in, as I say, my early 50s when I changed. I thought maybe looking back, I thought it was a little bit late making change. It turns out it's not at all.
It's not, yeah.
It's it's you can
regenerative
change,
body.
At 60, 70, I think, 80,
Yeah.
you can get some benefit out of it. And so, and we, both of us, my wife and I, I'm speaking strictly in a number, N of two, only two of us. But in reality now, I said I'm 90, she's 83, and I don't take drugs, and should knock on wood, as I say. I mean, it's a crazy thing for me to say. And we're only two, doesn't prove a point whatsoever. But that's.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's abnormal because anybody over 50, I'm 55, most everybody's chronically ill. So that's amazing that they're like that.
That's what we tend to see.
So as you may know, you're extremely revered in this community, and then there are a lot of doctors out there, especially medical doctors, who have their own spin on whole food plant-based. So
yeah, again, there's a reason why. It's because there is no universal definition for whole food plant-based. Let me say that again. There is no universal definition for whole food plant-based. That's why we came up with the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food. Let me run through what those are. Healthy vegan food pillar number 1 is 0 animal products. Number 2 is you must have whole plant fiber in your finished dish or whatever you're eating or drinking for that matter. So smoothies are okay, juices are not okay. Super high glycemic index there, and you'll never get enough fiber. And then 0 alcohol. Alcohol is not a health food. Alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen. It causes cancer. Just like Dr. Campbell said, if you do things that are in line with causing cancer, you're going to get it. So you can't have that. That's 3 of them right there. The last 3 you may have heard are 0 added salt or sodium, 0 refined sugar as defined by T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies, which means that molasses, dates, and maple syrup are okay, but nothing else. Those only tree syrups, molasses, and dates, which is a whole food anyway. And then the last one is 0 added oil with the caveat of saying that you should not and will not have more than 10% calories from fat in any completed dish. You'll find if you run the calculations that most people's completed dishes, even whole food plant-based, are 30 to 40% calories from fat. And another thing is to make sure that overall, all the food is as organic and chemical free as possible. So you can see we're very specific, meaning we're very much in close alignment with nature. And that's why we use the 6 pillar healthy vegan food standard only.
I think people would love to hear but it's also very confusing for lay people who aren't, nutritional biochemists, right? I have to admit I'm a biochemist. Yeah. So, I think the audience would love to hear if there are specific doctors out there or dietitians that you think are more spot on than others that we should be listening to more so than others. And if there are any doctors out there that you think maybe are
don't listen
with all, assuming that their integrity is intact, are not necessarily leading people in the right.
That's any doctor, all doctors that are following the standard of care. Do not listen to. Go make sure that your doctor, and we don't give medical advice, is board certified in lifestyle medicine, please make sure. And they'll probably take your insurance too.
Direction. If there's any doctors that we should avoid, I don't know if you're comfortable answering a question like that, but if there's any doctors, I'm sure you're fond of Dr. Esselstyn's work. Are there any other doctors out there that you would recommend people listen to?
Dr. Esselstyn, by the way, you can find his videos that I recorded myself, which are several hours long, explaining all the science behind why you should not have one single drop of oil. And that is at healthyveganfood.info to scroll down.
Well, Dr. Dean Ornish, by the way,
yeah.
In fact, he had, I took his advice seriously.
He's
he
great.
was on the cover of Time magazine with his comments about heart disease.
Yes.
Actually,
and Alzheimer's dementia reversal too.
I got to know Dean, and the publisher took his name and featured our books with his recommendation for the books throughout. So I owe him quite a bit. He didn't stay in the community quite the way that Esselstyn did. Esselstyn came along, and he about the same time, more or less, but he did his study. They're both of them, Ornish and Esselstyn, were doing their studies early on. They were both calling it low fat. They didn't go to the.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying there's no standard for the fat percentage in whole food plant-based. There's no standard for whether you're adding salt or not in whole food plant-based. There's no standard for requiring that you have fiber in whole food plant-based. I could go on.
Area of protein, they just low fat. And they were both using dairy because it was so important. You couldn't do without that. And I told him, I said, if I were you, I would stop the dairy. Well, Esselstyn did stop. But
I didn't know that Dr. Campbell was instrumental in getting them to stop eating the dairy. Well, that was great. I mean, I know when I got rid of the dairy, which is when I went vegan, I was vegetarian in 2014. Man, so many positive benefits.
Did not completely change. And so, and we've had this really personal, very close personal relationship, and Esselstyn's stuff got published and everything got recognized. He's a great guy. One of the reasons I like him is not because of his understanding of nutrition and that sort of stuff. He's just a first-class individual, a very honorable person. And Esselstyn, I mean, Ornish is too. But in terms of naming others, and I'm actually just now finishing up a book on that point. I have to admit it, become very upset with the medical system.
There you go. Thank you.
I've been
sick
close
care
to
system.
I've spoken in medical schools and their conferences in more than 40 states in the United States.
By the way, we've been to many, or tried to go to many medical conferences, but the reason why we don't go, and there's been a few we have gone to, is the food, the health-harming food that they serve at these medical conferences.
States. And I was actually a representative of the AMA for a little while, even though I have a PhD, not an MD. So I really got to know the medical community really extensively.
All right, so that's it. And I hope you appreciated that talk or just insight from Dr. Campbell. Not only we touched on why you don't want to use whole food plant-based, which he didn't mention, but he understands. Believe me, I know that he does, and he did what he did based on his knowledge at the time. He's a pioneer. He's way ahead of everybody else. And now we are going to move on to our goal, which is eradicating non-communicable disease in humans, and we will do that through the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and the 6 pillars of healthy vegan food. So give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you don't already. Look forward to reading your comments, and we'll see you in the next video.